First, I want to thank each and every one of my wonderful patrons. My Patreon, Dan Robichaud Carew, Tony Stunts, Generic GT, Geezer Windbag, Oleg, Jake Brabbit, Carlos DeLuca, Flatlander, and Ped Dispenser. And also, another thing, I want to thank each and every one of my now over 3,000 subscribers. I remember making a shout-out video for 50 subs, and even then, I wouldn't have anticipated this much support as of now, so I can't wait to show you all what I have in store after this BART series, and my heart is eternally grateful for each and every one of you. This video will talk specifically about the BART spur in the peninsula and underneath the bay, between the Millbrae transfer station all the way to West Oakland, just after the eastern portal of the Transbay tube. Starting off in San Mateo County, we are at the southern terminus of the spur in the city of Millbrae. This station is intermodal, connecting with the Caltrain commuter rail service on adjacent platforms. You can access them via the mezzanine level underneath the modern and stunning canopy. For the longest time, this station had nothing but a park and ride lot near it, but that changed last year with the Gateway development opening up. Gateway has 2 separate apartment complexes, a residence inn, and a retail center that is just steps away from the station's main entrance. There are even other little amenities like a rail-themed park too, which is pretty neat and integral, I'd argue, for community development. Speaking of communities, this district has about 400 total dwelling units, with 80 of them designated as affordable. Also in the works across the tracks is the Millbrae Sarah Station development, proposing 2 10-story apartment buildings and 1 9-story office building with a total of 444 dwelling units and just under 300,000 square feet of office space. The Millbrae General Area Plan calls for a consistent effort to build more mixed-use, retail, and residential developments, so expect more developments like these to come to fruition, and kiss those kiss and ride lots goodbye. Here at San Bruno, you would think that the station would be another easy transfer between BART and Caltrain, but unfortunately it's not. We have another Fremont problem. Instead, this underground BART station is located just next to the Tanforan shopping mall, just a crosswalk away to the mall's food court. The mall has seen better days, and perhaps this indicates that the city should rethink the types of zoning around Tanforan. West of the mall, about 1,600 feet away from the station as the crow flies, is the Crossing development with over 830 dwelling units. It's not really a TOD according to my definitions, but I thought I should include it at the very least. Outside of these 2 developments, San Bruno's area plan calls for an intensification of the Tanforan shopping mall and the shopping center to its north, meaning densification of land use and replacing the parking lot land with just commercial space. Whatever the case may be, current land use around the station is dismal and cannot be fixed by more commercial space. South San Francisco's underground station sits in an oasis of mixed-use developments in a desert of repetitive single-family home subdivisions and large stroads. South of the station is where South City shines, though. The South City Station apartments are the beacon of this area, with manicured sidewalks and a ground floor retail space that is actually occupied. The Trader Joe's provides the community with grocery needs. Admittedly, though, the station's north doesn't quite reflect the station's south, and the South San Francisco area plan seems to bridge this gap somewhat, with a goal to bring quality TOD to this station in the future. But, of course, actions speak louder than words, and here's to hoping that South SF elaborates on this plan and moves forward from this first step, because what they have so far is pretty impressive for a city looking like this. Here at Colma, the line ascends from beneath the grave. Literally. I mean, the area is just full of cemeteries. First, the positives, which are few and far between. La Terraza and the El Camino Village apartments are conveniently located just a short stroll away from the station's main plaza on its east. On its south too, the Trestle Glen apartments and some new homes. That, however, is where my praises end. First of all, why is a station bombarded by an 800-space parking garage that is equally as useless as it is ugly? It's insulting that there's even more parking south of it, connected by an equally ugly pedestrian bridge. And my point is, do we really need a 200,000 square foot lot in addition to an already massive parking garage? No, there's only one area plan I actually found related to the station, and it's from 1994. And what's interesting is that the proposals are pretty progressive for its time, calling for a total of 850 dwelling units on both sides of the station, apartment complexes on surface parking lots, and a provision that they should be over 3 stories tall. Daly City, like Colma, is another elevated station with a parking garage next to it. It's important to understand the history of Daly City when looking at land use patterns around the station. So, for context, this city expanded massively when one of the first major post-World War II suburbs in the United States was constructed, called Westlake, and it still exists today. It still comprises, though, of cookie-cutter, single-residence houses built on rolling hills. Therefore, this station was built to serve commuters from these suburbs, and it incentivizes auto use with this huge park-and-ride parking garage with easy highway access to 280. I found no such plans for Daly City to improve on its lack of development around the station, but I will cut it some slack because of the lack of real buildable space around it. I mean, the station is really choked by a highway on its left and surrounding neighborhoods on its right, but I'm still not a fan of this area, and you do have 2 buildable parking lots to work with. Alright, welcome to a city that actually cares about urbanism. These 2 stations at Balboa and Glen Park are also transfer stations to San Francisco's hybrid light rail and metro system of Muni. These 2 are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to transfers between Muni and BART, as the latter was built to align itself with the already existing Muni stations in the city, specifically around Market Street. Balboa Park is the terminus of most Muni lines, and it's an integral and important station for Peninsula passengers wishing to transfer onto Muni to go into areas like the Sunset or Ocean View in the city's west. The area itself, while already pretty dense and lively, is densifying even more with the Capuzzo development, and that has 160 dwelling units looking over the station across the street. Glen Park, on the other hand, isn't as important of a transfer as Balboa Park, but the neighborhood around it is breathtaking, walkable, dense, and full of anything from cafes, Mexican spots, bars, and bookstores. The thing is, even though Glen Park is also by Highway 280 and the massive San Jose Avenue Strode, the community still maintains its person-centric design and can be a model for how a station like Daly City can serve as a hub for its community rather than a station surrounded by parking lots. So these stations in the Mission are central to the historic and important Mission neighborhood in San Francisco and are actually quite parallel to Muni's J Church line. The Mission is famous for being one of the US's most important Latino neighborhoods, being home to old growth, dense housing developments, and of course the Mission style burrito. Although there's some debate over who actually invented it, and I'll let you guys decide. The plazas around these station entrances serve as community gathering spaces and an entrance to the Mission neighborhood. And more specifically around 24th Street, it's great how every mixed-use building around here has a ground floor small business. Some notable large developments are mostly around 16th Street though, such as the all-designated affordable La Fenix Apartments at 1950 Mission with 157 units. There are also community features like play areas, gardens, on-site laundry, and the community terrace. Up the street, though, the contrast is quite severe, as the La Vara Apartments are a self-described luxury development whose studios start at $2,500. This is my second video covering these core 4 stations between Civic Center and Embarcadero in downtown San Francisco because BART shares them with Muni. As I've stated in my Muni video, the Market Street subway carries Muni on top and BART on the bottom level for about 1.5 miles under the financial hub of the entire Bay Area. To summarize it all, these 4 stations are the heart and soul of BART. Without them, there is generally no reason to have a BART system in the first place. The general purpose of BART is, again, to shuttle people who live in the car-oriented suburbs of the SF Bay area as far as San Jose, Richmond, Antioch, Dublin, and Millbrae into their workplace in downtown San Francisco. Yes, of course there's Silicon Valley, but those company campuses are for the most part built on undeveloped land and have not only contributed to, but have incentivized suburban sprawl in the South Bay and the peninsula. One notable exception to this is the Salesforce Tower and Transit Center, which is a bus terminal and office building a couple of blocks from the Montgomery and Embarcadero BART and Muni stations. What's also interesting to note is that downtown headways are lightning fast during rush hour because of the fact that several BART and Muni lines run through these tunnels. You're pretty much never going to have to wait on these platforms for too long, regardless of what system you're taking. West Oakland Station is an above-grade station that serves as a major transfer point, as all but 2 BART lines stop through here. While I was here, this was the first station that received the new fare gates, and to be frank, they're still a major work in progress as they've had major user input lag, but I am sure that they'll be fixed soon. Some present-day developments around here are the Mandela Gateway Apartments, which are 168 affordable units a quick walk away from the station. A great community black-owned grocery store exists in the Mandela Grocery Co-op with everything you would want in a grocer just across the street from the station. Other than this development, there are many surface parking lots encircling the station, and so this is prime real estate for new affordable developments, all while maintaining the original integrity of West Oakland and fighting against indirect relocation and gentrification. Why does West Oakland look like this though? Why does it lack natural cohesion? And why are the parking lots even here? Well, my friend, the Cypress Viaduct in the 1950s was constructed in the middle of this community, dissecting the predominantly black West Oakland area during this time. Demolitions via eminent domain were conducted to make room for this former freeway, which was actually demolished after the 1989 earthquake, and further demolition was undertaken to construct this BART station and its parking lots in the 1950s and 60s. That is why you see a 1-block radius of concrete around the station, which was ground zero for forced removal of dozens of homes in this area. Oakland seriously must look at this area as one for potential and do its best to rekindle the urbanist spirit that this community once had. How do you do this? And how do you owe it to the hundreds of West Oaklanders displaced? Well, the very first step is to develop a plan to build housing on top of these useless parking lots, and thankfully there is one. It calls for 1,875 residential units at high density. There will also be about 400,000 square feet of office space and 80,000 square feet of retail as well. The renderings are just gorgeous, and they really emphasize the rejoining of this community, previously bulldozed for the car, now reclaimed by its people. So that about covers most of the BART spurs. The next video will talk about the remaining spurs between Oakland and Richmond and Oakland and Antioch, including the infamous eBART extension, so stay tuned for that. I appreciate you all once more for the 3,000 subs. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate my patrons on Patreon for, their continuous and awesome support, and of course the people on Discord that are just loving and really do care about urbanism, so I really do love you guys. But I will see you for the next part of BART.